mentioned in my last video that I took another video that I just decided to not use because I did go off on a ton of rants, and I just listened to it again and I'm going, yeah, I'm not going to upload it. So don't ask. But there was a point in there. It has nothing to do with Lego. It has nothing to do with any of my other hobbies that I talk about here on my channel. But it is story time with Dave. It's going to be maybe long and boring for a lot of you, but it was part of the little rant yesterday. Started because I was talking to somebody while I was at work. I was doing tech support. We called and we started chatting about other stuff while we were waiting for little blue bars to go across the screen, which is something I've been doing in tech support forever. It's waiting for little blue bars to go across the screen. But anyway, we started talking, and so I'm gonna try to start the story this way. My parents were not authoritarian. They were I won't say the exact opposite of authoritarian, like laissez-faire, let the kids run free. They were very civically oriented, socially aware. We were in church every Sunday. I was in Sunday school. I went to the United Church down the street. I was baptized at the Anglican church. That's a whole other story. So we were in church every Sunday, and I was in Sunday school, and I was in Boy Scouts, and I was in a lot of other groups while I was growing up. And my parents were very much, you do right for society. That's who they were. You don't deliberately do bad stuff for society. We even had paper drives and bottle drives, and not sometimes organized by my parents, but sometimes organized community, and we always partook. Clean up. We would always clean up our area, our town, our schoolyard, or whatever. Even in school, like back in the day, I remember our school would have us kids go out maybe twice a year. I don't know when. I can't remember when, but we would have garbage bags and we go out in the playground in the area and we clean up. It's what we did, and it was, I will say, it was an expectation. And when we went camping as a family, mom, dad, and us kids, or with the church, or with my dad's mom's other groups, the men's club and all that other stuff that they were involved in, we'd always go camping. It was mandated, not written down, but it was mandated that you leave the campsite better than you found it. And it wasn't just your little campsite when we went camping. No. It was, hey, Dave, you grab this garbage bag and you walk up and down the roadways. You go into other campgrounds that are empty. You go clean up, and other kids as well. It's not just me being singled out to go clean up. But it was almost an expectation that we would clean up, and especially, and this is going to go talk about one of my most joyous parts of my childhood, is going to Tobermory with the Hamiltons and Mariners, my dad's diving club. Tobermory. If somebody was to ask me what my favorite, I've been across the entire country for work. I've been most of the major cities. I love every part of Canada. I really do, that I've been to and I've seen on TV. Given a choice, where would I live? I would have to say here because I know it. But if that's just whatever. But I love the East Coast. I love the West Coast. I love every part in between. Even, and this is going to be, I would say, the least favorite place I've been, this is a tangent, Winnipeg. Like, and it's not that it was bad. It was just Winnipeg, and it was there, and it was a nice town. It was nice. It wasn't like seedy or whatever, but it was just, it didn't do anything for me. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. Edmonton, I adored when I was there. I loved Edmonton. Calgary, fantastic. Loved it. Vancouver, out in the mountains, fantastic. Halifax, lovely. Winnipeg, yeah, nice. Like, I'm sure if I had a chance to get out of town in Winnipeg, I would have loved it a lot more, because I love northern. But anyway, so stop that tangent. We would go to Tobermory a lot growing up, almost every long weekend with the Sir Mariners Diving Club. We'd be at Tobermory. And my parents were very good and dear friends with the people who owned Big Tub Lodge. And Big Tub is right at the end of Highway 6, right next to the lighthouse. So if you've ever seen the Tobermory Lighthouse, it's just down the street. It's a lot different now than it was when I was a kid. There was a lot more wilderness there than there is now. I'm young enough to remember the boat before the Chichimon. I can't remember the name of it. We were on it because we would go to Manitoulin sporadically. But I think the Chichimon came in '74. Again, I'm not going to look it up. But and I've been in the Chichimon, I don't know how many times in my life. Not in the past 20 years, but before then. I was on the Chichimon a lot. Love Tobermory. And if I could own a cottage anywhere on the planet, just for me to kick my feet up and read a book, it'll probably be Tobermory. Because I just love the name too. Tobermory. It's just like, oh, it's beautiful. And rugged and wilderness, and it's where the Bruce Trail ends and all that stuff. Every time I've been to Tobermory, I just have this feeling of comfort and home away from home. Probably because of my youth. Anyway, but when we were at Big Tub Harbor, Big Tub Lodge, and we're friends with the owners, and the Submariners are good friends with the owners, we would help every way we could to help them, help Jim and Jean. We would clean the campsites. We would go around garbage. I remember they had a helper. I think his name was Mike. Again, I was a kid, 6, 7, 8. He would show up every day or every whatever with his old truck and clean out the garbage bins. And as soon as, hey, Mike's coming. Hey, Mike, I see you pulling into the entrance. I'll help you. I don't need like an allowance or whatever. I want to help Mike. I want to help Jim and Jean. I want to help. Anyway, and still obviously completely instilled by the parents, and even going past that, my friend Willie Pearl, Willie and I, Will now. See, I'm remembering my youth now. His name's Will, not Willie. His name's Will, William. He and I would walk along the Bruce Trail in the escarpment behind Winona from 50 to McNeely with garbage bags, and we would clean up. It was probably for a Boy Scout badge for sure. That was part of it. But hey, Will, what do you want to do? Hey, let's go clean the Bruce Trail that we've hiked along our entire lives, and not a hesitation. Let's go do that. Right? This is what we did. It wasn't oh, do I have to? No, this is what you do. You step up. I would have to say that definitely was instilled by my parents, but not only my parents, by the entire community I grew up in. And I can't speak enough wonderful words about the town I grew up in, called Winona. And for those of you who are, not alive now, you would have probably known it as Ontario. It was Ontario, Upper Canada, up until Upper Canada became Ontario. And the post office, the postal people at the time in 1867 decided that they didn't want a little village to be the same name as the new province, because it was causing confusion with the mail. So they mandated, the post office mandated that the little village of Ontario, right here on Lake Ontario, had to change their name because the post office was getting confused. Yeah, New York can do it, but Ontario couldn't do it. So in 1867 or thereabouts, they changed the village of Ontario to the village of Winona. Just a little piece of history for you. Little Winona. There are conversations about why they chose the name Winona. Chief Tecumseh's daughter, supposedly, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. It's a beautiful name. And I grew up in Winona. I was born in Grimsby, but my parents lived in Winona. So I grew up my first 24 years in Winona. And I grew up with my parents, and I grew up with all my parents' friends and all the people from the church and the men's club and all the various groups that we were part of, and they all stepped up. It was a lot of volunteer. Like most of my family was firefighters, the volunteer firefighters in Winona, and not just my family, but the friends I grew up. Like you go to my high school, the people I remember, my friend Jamie, my friend Stacy, my friend Ken, like all my more older, like towards my brother's age, but I knew them all. And they all became firefighters in Winona because you step up, and all their parents were friends of my parents, stepping up for the community, stepping up for the kids, stepping up for the society. And so this is the environment I grew up in. And it was instilled in me at a very early age that the term mortified comes into play here. My parents would have been mortified had I stepped out of line. And a lot of associates, I won't say friends of mine, because I never associated with people who deliberately went out of their way to be antagonistic. Like there's proper, I've never had a problem with this. There's proper antagonism, like antagonizing the system that's unjust. Martin Luther King, antagonizing the system that's not just. You step up and you stand against the unjustness of the system 100%. I'm going to be backing you. I'm going to be right beside you. If you point out there's an injustice in the system, I'm the first guy in line. Absolutely. There's not a hesitation. I do not follow societal conventions because society's always right. I follow the society conventions that are right and just and proper for a conducive to a good society, for everybody, not just the select few rich people or the select few white people or whatever. Society is here for everybody, or at least it should be here for everybody. And so I have a huge component of my well-being that says you step up when you have to step up, no matter the consequences. Because if there's an injustice, that has to be taken care of. But this is not the focus of this thing. This is the idea that I also knew growing up, people, my peer group and my class and the few classes above and below, there was a lot of what, again, archaically would be called malcontents or ne'er-do-wells, never do well, ne'er-do-wells. And it was always tough for me to be around the ne'er-do-wells, the malcontents, because I wanted them to understand that they're not just harming, deliberately, maliciously harming other people in society with their antics, their actions, their whatever they want to be doing, to get off on it. Again, I don't understand the mind of a malcontent, but they must get off on it. They must like it themselves. They want to do it. They go out of their way to do it. Either they're looking, like, again, I took psychology in college for a few classes because you had to. They're looking for something, they're lashing out at something, whatever the reason is. I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not going to go into their reasons for being a malcontent, because there's a bevy of them, and they're all legitimate issues that have to be addressed by smarter people than me. We'll say that. But I've always had a problem with malcontents myself, because I'm saying I just put a lot of effort into cleaning up the playground. Straight up. Hey, we came out here with plastic bags at recess, or half a class with garbage bags. We're walking around picking up all the popsicle sticks and whatever, cigarette butts. And then you go out there at lunchtime, and there's these guys deliberately, because they didn't do it the day before we cleaned up, or the week before, or the month before we cleaned up. During that period, they came out at lunchtime or the second recess with apple cores disintegrate, but not really, like a wrapper, like a Hostess, Twinkie, whatever, like those wagon wheels that we had when we were kids, and throw it deliberately, and made sure that people were watching them doing this. They would say, "Oh, all right, hey, look at me! I got my Hostess, wagon wheel," and I'm like, "What, dude? We just spent the entire class, whatever, how many classes were involved? We just spent an hour cleaning up this playground, not an hour ago, and here you are. What is that?" It's not even, it's beyond frustrating. because it's like, what do you do? And I don't know. I would be mortified if not if I was caught doing that, because that's a whole other thing. I'd be mortified just doing it, even if there's nobody else around. It's just me and God, or me and nobody, just me and my conscience. What? I would, like, okay, I'm driving on the road in my little car, and I grab a Hostess Twinkie and I throw the wrapper out the window. I would stop the car within 50 feet of that, because I could not get past it. I would be on my mind for weeks. That's what I did. Now, I'm not perfect, straight up. I have done things either unconsciously or not aware. I've stepped on people's toes. I am as guilty as the next guy for doing stupid things, doing things against society. Straight up, I am. I talked to some of my ex-girlfriends. I've not been nice sometimes. Don't mistake that. Like, nobody was injured, nobody was harmed, no psychological abuse. It's just we're done here. And I'm like, I stepped on toes. I've hurt feelings before. It's what happens in the world, and you have to live with it, and you have to deal with it, and you have to make amends if you have to make amends. But the mortification comes with doing it deliberately and maliciously, and that's where my mortification comes in. If I was doing something deliberately and maliciously that causes harm, and not just physical harm, emotional harm, even a kind of a esoteric society harm, because throwing a wrapper on the ground is not hurting anybody in that instance. It's not. Hubba bubba, throw it on the ground. Or spitting out gum. It's going to decompose. But somebody comes along and steps in that later, or somebody, we have, so this is a part of the tangent. We have to pay somebody now to come and clean that up. See, when we did it for school, nobody's paying us, right? When we did it at Jim and Jean's at the campground, nobody had to pay us. We wanted to do it just because they're friends, and this is the right thing to do, and, you know, gives the kids an hour of cleaning up instead of like, Mommy, what are we gonna do now? Nobody had to pay us. But now, today, because you can't do this anymore, and nobody does this anymore, thankfully you still have those, you know, those adopt a highway programs. My dad and his motorcycle club adopted a stretch of highway somewhere, and they go out, you know, 3 times a year. Or I don't know, I don't keep track, but they go out and they clean along the highway. So we're not paying an MTO guy, whatever we're paying them, an MTO guy, to go clean that up. But that's not everywhere, and you still have the malcontents out there that are deliberately and maliciously ruining society because they want to, or they need to. There's this again, not a psychologist, but they have this desire to harm society in some fashion, needlessly and maliciously. But so I'm talking to my friend on the phone. To get back to this thing, I'm talking to my friend on the phone, and we're talking about we just started talking about this. Like, I would have been mortified, and this is where that word is. Mortified means something to me. That's one of those feelings that you never hear about anymore. Feeling mortified, like, absolutely. It's not terror. It's not terror. It's not terrified. It's not sadness. It's not. I guess guilt is somewhere in there, being mortified. I don't even know how to explain it these days. I know what it feels like. Yes, it happens all the time. I'd be being mortified, not as much now as because I'm letting things go. But when I was a kid, all the time, I'd be mortified at that if I did that. But anyway, some of my peers from my class, or class above and below, had no problem doing stuff that, not just, you know, punch somebody in the nose, metaphorically punch society in the nose, but burning down society, so the cops would have to show up, right? whether it's a small thing like your parents go on vacation. Like you remember all those movies from the 80s where the parents go on vacation and the kids just go wild when you're in high school, all those mindless teenage sex comedies, Porky's, whatever, that they don't make anymore, thankfully. But not like Ferris Bueller's, but because that's a nice clean, I am taking a day off from school. But the risky business. Parents are gone on vacay and you have a wild party and you make lots of money with hookers. Wait. And trash the house. Weird science, trash the house. My parents could go on vacation for a month and come back and the house would look, well, not that I do a lot of laundry back then, but I could probably get around to doing laundry. The house would be standing. The house would not have had 17 parties and beer kegs all over the floor. Like, that's not who I am. It's not who my sister was, and it's definitely not who my brother was. Because we would be mortified to do that. It would never dawn on us to do that. Our parents are on vacation or they're out for whatever it is. They trust us explicitly to make sure that we don't do anything deliberately and maliciously stupid, which seems to be lost on a lot of other people. So, and in the end, you're harming yourself. You throw that piece of trash on the highway, your taxes are going to go up straight up. I mean, this is the tit for tat. Nothing, there's a thing in physics. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And I knew this when I was 6 years old. And I don't know, not the physics term, but I realized at 6 years old, when you do this, somewhere down the road, that happens. And this is me preaching. Sorry, I'm preaching, but this is part of why I didn't upload that video. You have to be cognizant of your impact on yourself, of your mental state, of the people around you, of the environment around you, you can't take all factors into consideration because you just go crazy. Yeah, but you make the right choice for the data that you have in your head. And if you're so ensconced into your I hate society, burn it all down, the Joker from Batman 2, you know, some people just want to watch the world burn. Sure, go get help, or somebody should make you go get help. But if you are just plugging along in your life and not harming anybody else, not putting trash in the ground, not spitting out your gum so people can step on it later and ruin their shoes, whatever, knock yourself out. You don't have to. And this is the other thing. I always talk about my friends because, again, I grew up in a different environment than most other people with the society. Help, show up, get your hands dirty, plant trees, whatever it is. You don't have to do that. Nobody else in the world has to do that to show up and societally take care of things, pick up trash, or clean up, or plant trees, or save the whales. You don't have to do any of that. But at minimum, your responsibility, because if you want to live in a house that people aren't breaking into and you got raving, pillaging hordes of like Mad Max stuff going on out there, if you want a society that protects you and allows you to drive on the road, don't be a malcontent. Don't break things maliciously to get back at society, because again, you're going to be paying for that somewhere down the road. It's your taxes. Oh, I want to speed. Go ahead and speed. You shouldn't. There's so many things here, and this is why I had to stop that video, because I just got on and on and on. But bringing it back to the phone call, I would be mortified if the cops showed up at my parents' door. Like, I would be mortified if the cops came knocking. And that seemed to be lost on a lot of people these days. And Josh is here. Hello, Josh.
Hi.
You bringing me a cookie?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
I don't know. I have a tough time right now seeing all the stuff that's going on in society right now, where people are deliberately and maliciously breaking things, society conventions, society rules, and not understanding their personal responsibility to the society that keeps the environment that they need in order to sustain themselves in a nice, comfortable fashion. And something got lost, I think, a lot. Something big got lost between when I was a kid 50 years ago and today. We are, a lot of people say this, and I agree with it. We are living at the best times of all possible worlds in history. We live longer, we're healthier, we know better, we know a lot more stuff than we did even 30, 40 years ago. You wouldn't want to be treated medically today the way people were being treated medically 30 years ago. The medicine has changed so much in the last 30 years. Our understanding of the human body has changed so much in the last 30 years. Our understanding of the universe has changed so much in the last 30 years. We are living at the best of all possible times on this planet. But we also are living in a very, very selfish time on this planet where everybody's personal wants and desires are trumping society. And now I never put people above society, but I never put society above people. And that's an important distinction. Society can't dictate to the individual stuff that's not just, but people can't dictate to society that they can do whatever they want. This is not laissez-faire. This is not every person fends for themselves. We all live in a society, and we all have to live together. We have to share space together. And I think a lot of people are missing that point now, that they don't want to have an understanding of the other person across from you. They don't want to start thinking about the pain and suffering that they're going through. I just want mine. Screw you for yours. Get out of my way. Get out of my face. I don't need to listen to you, to the pain of other people, because I just want what I want. And I never grew up. And I never grew up in that society. I grew up in a society in my house where you had to start being very cognizant of other people and what they're going through, and not just people, individuals, but as a society, what's best for society. Individual freedom, absolutely. Individual freedom is what makes a good society good, but unlimited freedom, and you're just talking about chaos and anarchy. And so my whole point was people being mortified. I think mortified should start becoming part of our common everyday parlance again, because I don't think enough people are. I don't think enough people are mortified by anything anymore. Anything goes. I'm not going to go into what happened last night on the news because it's just going to make me cry. So that's it. That was what I was ranting about overall. There's some other points in there that I don't want to delve into. But my sermon is over. You can go back to your business now. Josh is going to say bye.
Bye.
Bye.